The following is a presentation of Geekster Media.
Hey there, and welcome to another edition of the Geek Out podcast. It's been a while, but hey, it's that holiday season that gets us all in a spooky mood, and it seemed like there'd be tricks out there, but we wanted to bring you a treat. And so this time around, we are going to be exploring the world of the Misfits. Yes, the seminal horror punk band who has had a legacy since the 70s to today. We are going to be probably focusing in on a very specific era of our fandom with our guest, a gentleman who has appeared with me on the Advent Calendar House podcast hosted by Mike Westfall. That's how we found out that we both shared an affinity for this band, their theatricality, their songwriting. So, Donnie Storms, welcome to Geek Out.
Wow, thanks for having me, Adam. What holiday are we talking about again? Oh, right, I remember Halloween.
Hey! And so this is something where, in the past, I've talked about Kiss, my fandom for the band Kiss, got very deep into that. And second to Kiss is the Misfits, very specifically the 90s era Misfits. And we're going to get into all the difference there and all that. But we should say that the Misfits themselves were actually founded by Glenn Danzig in 1977 in Lodi, New Jersey. Jerry Only was the bassist, and they had a bunch of different guitarists. They had so many drummers. Like, it was always just a revolving door of other members of the band.
Yeah, those early years, it's almost like you just can, and honestly, when you get to the later years as well, which is probably part of the problem, it always seemed like it was Danzig and Jerry, and the other pieces were just kind until Doyle joined. It was just kind of it didn't really matter who the other guys were. It was those were your two main guys, and the other guys were just, it was like they might as well have been Jerry and Glenn and friends, because they don't nobody remembers them. Nobody cares.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a die-hard Misfits fan, there's so much lore, there's so much history that you can dive into. But what we got to talk about here is this is a band who I think it's almost their iconography that goes beyond their music for most people. Everybody knows about the Crimson Ghost skull. Okay, a lot of people, including Kiss, like in 1989 when they were on tour, Gene Simmons was wearing a Misfits shirt on stage. I don't know if he knew who the Misfits were, but he liked that skull and he liked horror movies. And so he was wearing that around. So it was something where people have seen that everywhere. There's a guy at my work who I see, and he's got a shirt that has the Crimson Ghost on it, but it's not Misfits. It's for some gun collecting podcast he listens to.
Oh,
and I'm just like,
no,
but
no,
like,
no.
do you know the Misfits? He's like, no, this is a gun show. I'm like, what?
You know what? Not to bring professional wrestling into literally everything, but the Misfits skull was kind of the Bullet Club of the punk rock scene, where everything for a while there was like, "Ooh, it's a Bullet Club logo parody." Every local comic shop, every band, every I don't even some some small businesses would have a Bullet Club logo mock-up for whatever they were selling. And the Crimson Ghost skull kind of became that, where it was like, okay, it's the skull and then whatever name we're selling on top of it in a weird font.
And we should say, for those not in on current pro wrestling, think the NWO logo as well,
Yes.
which was everywhere in the 90s. So this is something where we should say the Crimson Ghost, it is not something that the Misfits created. It was an old black and white adventure serial that was, just like this Crimson Ghost character, this guy in a skull mask causing problems, being a menace. And so they adopted that, like almost everything, including the name. The Misfits is not like Island of Misfit Toys. It's not anything like super sinister. It's based on a Marilyn Monroe movie. Like
Yes.
they're fans of movies, and they're like, we'll call our band the Misfits, you know?
It's so funny when somebody like me who was just kind of on the outskirts of a lot of those properties, and then you find out, you start listening to the Misfits and you listen to these songs, you're like, oh, this song is great, and then you're like, oh wait, this song is just the plot of a movie. It's just a summary of the thing that happened. And of course, by Famous Monsters, I was way more in the know, and so that album was way more. I connected with that one way more because I'm like, I've seen Pumpkinhead, I've seen Planet of the Apes, I know all of these films. But before that, it was kind of it was kind of me finding out about the movies through the music, which is kind of backwards, but also kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. It could be an education for those who had not seen a lot of like 30s through 60s horror films and things like that, which generally became the focus of their lyrics and everything that they were doing. So, this is what we have to ask, though, Donnie, because we're going to get into a lot of details and history of the band and all that. But how did you first get introduced to the Misfits?
So, oh God, how far back do I want to take this? All right, so uh, when I was a kid, I did not listen to anything but movie soundtracks. I would pick up movie soundtracks of any movie that I saw and I liked. And so, it was a lot of Ninja Turtles 3, Super Mario Brothers, the one with John Leguizamo and John Hopper. Just all kinds of. I had the Mortal Kombat soundtrack. That is all I would listen to. I had no concept of popular music until I discovered, ironically enough, I discovered Kiss. And through Kiss, I went from Kiss to Aerosmith to Metallica, and those were the three big ones that I would listen to day in, day out. It was one of those three bands that was all I listened to was Kiss, Metallica, or Aerosmith. Uh, in the late 90s, Metallica released a box set of live material called Binge and Purge, and it was, I think, three different full shows on CD, three shows on VHS, and a book, and you got a fun stencil or something, and it all came in this really cool kit that looked like a crate, like a tour crate. On the second or third album, the second or third live show, they lean really heavy into a set that was mostly covers. And there's a really good Queen cover on there of oh shoot, Stone Cold Crazy. Stone Cold Crazy is on that album. But the one that really stuck with me was their cover of Last Caress. Metallica's original bassist, Cliff Burton, was just super into the Misfits, just crazy Misfits fan. He would wear the shirt on stage all the time. I think his bass strap had the skull up on the top of the bass strap as well, so it was always really prominent in pictures of him. Um, and of course, he passed away in a really horrible bus accident shortly after Master of Puppets. But because of the fact that he was so into them, the band would cover their songs at shows. And this album happened to have Last Caress on it. And this was the first time I'd ever heard anything like this before. The you've got infanticide, you've got just
Assault. Yeah.
assaults, yeah, you've got horrible things, and he's singing about it in a way that's so catchy, and it's almost like, hey, I wish to subscribe to your newsletter, Mr. Danzig. But yeah, so that was my first intro, and I'm like, wow, what's this unreleased Metallica song that I've never heard? And of course then I figured out it was a cover and learned about the whole history behind it and everything. But that was still the only song that I had heard. At this point, their Garage Covers album with Green Hell and ooh, I think it was Green Hell and Last Crest. And this, of course, I was completely unobtainable at this point. There was no way I was ever going to find this. But I did go to record stores and I did look for things. And I remember going to uh, a discount warehouse record store and uh, looking through all of their stuff, and they had Misfits Collection 1, they had Static Age, and they had American Psycho. This was after uh, Graves had joined the band, and American Psycho had been released. And I bought all three albums, and it was such a weird shift to be like, oh, I'm going to listen to these chronologically. And you go through Misfits collection, which of course is all the goods. Well, actually, I started with Static Age, and Static Age is when Static Age is good, it's really good. When Static Age is not, it's really not. But Collection is outstanding. It's all the hits. Yes, that's the good one. Collection 2 is weird because it's got Halloween on it, but it also has some other really weird stuff. Uh, but anyway, I digress. To have that shift from that style and then be like, oh, well, let me listen to their more recent album and be like, what am I listening? This is not even the same band, and it's not. Was just so I was so invested at this point in how both of them were so both very, very good, but so very, very different. It was like finding two brand new favorite bands at the same time.
That's pretty awesome. Now it's
Oh,
interesting because our journeys are similar. I prior to getting into high school, really, what was I listening to? I was listening to New Kids on the Block, Weird Al Yankovic, yes, the Mortal Kombat soundtrack, and all those other things. Like I was not connected to any type of rock and roll music. Closest I got was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming out of their shells. Okay, like that's
oh God, my sainted mother listened to that album so many times.
so it's one of those things where I had a classmate, he introduces me to Kiss, he wins me over to Kiss, and then he starts telling me about this band, the Misfits, because he's wearing Kiss shirts, Ozzy shirts, and Misfits shirts. And this is around 1997. So when my American Psycho is coming out, we'll talk about that more in a minute. But the band had been back and touring since about 1995, and so he had another friend who pulled him in and was taking him to shows. So anyway, we eventually start forming a band, and we become a garage band called Natural Fear. Yeah. And so within that, they're like, Pope, you got to learn all these songs. So they give you these mixtapes. That's Metallica, it's Misfits. I already knew all the Kiss stuff by that point. I was obsessed. And Danzig songs, because Danzig goes on to have his solo career. But yes, at this point, like I'm being introduced to this world of like evil music, like intense, with themes that are really, dark and by comparison to a lot of other stuff, not so much. Marilyn Manson's also happening at the time, so that was the new scary music. But we should say, the Misfits themselves were never a big band. Like
No.
they never even had a full album until almost before they broke up. Like Walk Among Us is 1982. They had been around since 77, releasing like a single here, an EP here. Like there were just little bits and pieces of their music out there. And then they release a full album. And then as they break up, a new album comes out called Earth AD. And then at that point, they're done. And then there's like the different compilations and things, because Glenn Danzig holds all the rights. He's got the music. He's the guy. He's got the recordings. If he doesn't like it, he'll re-record. He's going to put his own guitars and other things. He's going to take out everybody else's work. And so Glenn Danzig is also bringing on a solo career. He has a brief period in another band called Samhain, which is just Misfits 2, but not as good. And then he does Danzig. That first album is amazing. It's a great album. It has Mother. That was probably the most mainstream anything that Danzig ever did.
Yes.
And it was Metallica, like you said, bringing the Misfits to a wider fan base, letting people know who this band was that didn't exist anymore, and playing their songs and all of that. Meanwhile, during all of this, Jerry Only, the bassist, he wants to have the Misfits be a band. He's trying to create another band called Christ the Conqueror, which is like a heavy metal band with his brother Doyle, who was the final guitarist in the band. Doyle Wolfgang von Frankenstein is his stage name, which is fantastic. And they're in court with Glenn Danzig for years, saying, we played on all this stuff. I co-wrote a lot of this stuff. I had involvement in the recordings. I should have access to the Misfits name. I'm a founding member, all those things. And it finally lands in the early 90s that Jerry and Doyle can have a band called Misfits, not the Misfits, but Misfits, They can use the scary font logo. They can tour as the Misfits. They could sell merchandise. They have to share that with Glenn, pretty sure. But they basically like they can't re-record any of the old Misfits songs and put that on an album, but they can be, for all intents and purposes, a band called Misfits that exists.
And the funniest part of this, and again, I might have my lore, my history twisted, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But at some point, if I'm remembering it correctly, the name, the rights to the name completely lapse, and no one has it. And so the people who are making the Gem cartoon are like, hey, no one's using the name The Misfits. Let's make her rival band The Misfits. And they don't do anything about it. And so Gem's fighting this band named The Misfits, which is always just endlessly funny to me.
Well, and keep in mind, the Misfits from Gem are probably the most popular version of a band that ever had that name. That was the most widely known Misfits at that point.
I mean, their songs are better. They'll tell you.
So during this time, then Jerry is doing everything he can to reform the band. They're putting it back together. They get a drummer called Dr. Chud, who is in this band called Sardonica. And so he comes on and he's playing drums for them now. And then they need a singer. And so they are holding basically open auditions. They just put it out there. If you want to be the singer of the Misfits, come down and audition at this recording studio. And they had all sorts of other people they were talking to, like, we're reforming. So like Dave Vanian from The Damned, why don't you be our lead singer? And he's in talks, but it doesn't happen. Pete Steele from Typo Negative is like, we're doing a concert on Halloween. The Misfits should open for us. Like, you should come play with us. And they're like, well, we'll do it, but you got to sing with us. He's like, well, I don't really know the songs. So if you can have somebody that'll teach me the songs. And there was this kid who was in another band who was looking for a recording studio, finds this studio. He's like, oh yeah, my band, we'll come in and record. They're like, by the way, there's this band, the Misfits, they're auditioning singers. You might consider it. Like, you just see if they want you. So he's in there and he starts singing with them all the time. Michael Graves becomes basically the guy who teaches everybody else that's auditioning their songs, but they don't want him as the singer for whatever reason. And they're just like, he's the guy who will get everybody on board. And then Pete Steele, in preparation for this show, says, why have you not hired this guy to be your lead singer? He's amazing. Just make him your singer. Like, you don't need me to sing with you. And so that pushes him into the role. Michael Graves becomes the lead singer of the Misfits. So obviously the sound of the Misfits, like is everything. It's the music, it's the vocals, but people think of Danzig's evil Elvis style. He's Jim Morrison, demonic Jim Morrison, whatever you want to call it. And so you're going to say, okay, you're going to get a new singer. Is he going to sound like Danzig? Like, I will say, I saw an interview with another guy who wanted to be in the band, Mike Hideous, and he gets to be lead singer for a brief period. We can get into that. But he said when he called up, Doyle was like, well, can you sound like Tom Jones? He's like, what are you talking about? Sound like Tom Jones? He's like, Doyle was asking him all these weird questions. So he's like, look, if you just want a singer in your band, let me know. But I don't know what because he's like, you're going to have to work out. You're going to have to get buff like us and all this stuff. And he's like, what? So
it's just the antithesis of what Graves did.
Yeah. So this is ultimately resulting in an album called American Psycho that comes out in 1997, put out by Geffen. Okay, so Geffen is a big record label that's going to put this album out. So let's start talking about this era. I call it Graves era Misfits. A lot of people call it like Misfits 95 or whatever, like however you want to, but it's Michael Graves as the front man of the Misfits.
Yeah, that's how I refer to it as well. You've got Graves era and you've got Danzig era. Those are the two bands.
Yeah. So the opening track on this album is called The Abominable Dr. Phibes, which ended up being one of my favorite horror movies because of this album. Went to Blockbuster Video, rented it. Vincent Price, amazing movie. But that song was actually from their Christ the Conqueror album, and it was just an instrumental. But it's really dramatic and it really builds. And then it suddenly cuts into the song, the title track, American Psycho, based on the novel, not yet a movie, about to
Right.
be a movie, but not yet. So what do you think when it comes to American Psycho title track, album title? What do you like about that, Donnie?
Um, so again, this was I had actually when I picked it up because I didn't care about the connection to the horror stuff because I didn't know anything about the connection to the horror stuff at this point. When I picked it up and I heard this song really just grabs you right from the beginning. The to go from the instrumental track right into the whoa, like immediately you're hooked. It's such a visceral intro. Um, and honestly, I really do think it is probably it's not my favorite track on the album,
No.
but I do think it's the perfect song to pick as the title track for the album because I do think it all kind of encompasses everything. But like you said, it is about the book American Psycho, and um, I can't remember if I'd seen the movie by the time I picked up the album or not. I feel like I hadn't. And I guess somewhere in my brain I didn't realize I was like, oh, he's talking about being an American Psycho. And then once I saw the movie and I realized that they were making direct allusions to things that happened in the movie, I was like, oh, okay. So this is what they're doing. And that's kind of where I made the connection.
Yeah, I mean the opening lyric, you know, inside a Wall Street Mine, a psycho lurks, lines of cocaine cut in hell. I mean, that's gonna set the stage for
Yep.
now. We should say traditional Misfits, if you want to say like original Misfits songs.
Original recipe.
Yeah, they focus on horror movies, like sometimes just a title, like Return of the Fly is literally just saying the title over and over again, and then some people who are in the cast. It's like he was looking at the movie poster, and Danzig's like, Return of the Fly with Vincent Price, Return of the Fly. Like it's so funny, but it's a catchy song.
That song has always felt like a placeholder. Like they were like, "Hey, we've got this riff and we want to write this song, but we need lyrics and we don't know how we want them to go." As somebody who's written music, this is a great way of writing music. Sometimes you get a really good riff and um you start running with that riff, but you don't know what the lyrics are yet. So you'll just kind of sit there and like you'll hum a melody, you'll kind of figure out how you want the lyrics to go, and you just start saying anything. And sometimes you come across something and it fits and you end up sticking with it, and sometimes it ends up just being filler. This felt like filler because he's just like they're like, "Hey Danzig, we got the riff. We know how we kind of want the lyrics to sound, but like, see if we can work with that. Just like would shop workshop it." And Danzig just starts singing the names of people in movies in the movie. And it's like, all right, I guess this is what we're gonna go with. This is the song now.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. And so there's a lot of that, but then there's a lot of like dark, violent imagery. And this is something that I think sets apart the two eras. You can definitely see that, Jerry only watched a lot of monster movies on TV, probably went to the theaters to see him, read Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine, and he thought it was a good time. Glenn Danzig was taking it deadly seriously. He's like, I want to be the killers in these movies. They have the power. He's singing from the perspective of the serial killer, and he it seems to embrace that in all seriousness. And you're like, okay, let's take a step back, Glenn.
The track where that is just so absolutely obvious, and the one that makes me feel the most uncomfortable to the point that I can't take it seriously and I laugh every single time I listen to it, is Bullet.
Yeah,
Like Bullet, I cannot take seriously. You get to the beginning part where he's just talking about the Kennedy assassination, and it's like, all right, I get it. This was a big deal of for this from the 70s. We're gonna sing about this. We're gonna include this imagery in our song. We're anti-establishment kind of thing. Okay, cool, I get it. And then he goes over the line and starts talking about what he would like to do with Jackie O, and it's just like, all right, Glenn, buddy, we need to have a talk.
yeah.
What you doing? Not okay.
It's about it, like it seemed to be about the shock value, but it almost didn't seem like he was doing it for shock value. It's like, this is what's in my brain right now, and I'm
Yeah,
putting this out to you, and you're like, okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's the thing. That's the reason why with original Misfits, that catalog, there's probably 10, 12 songs that I would say these are good. They are melodic, they have a hook, they're sung well. But the majority of it is just kind of like, it's like you said, collection two. You're like, why would I listen to this? And the
Yeah,
album Earth AD has like two songs that are listenable, and everything else is just.
yeah,
You're like, I don't know what you're even
yeah.
saying, Glenn.
Yeah, like even if you listen to Halloween 2, which why did that need to be a thing? It's just weird chanting over like a bass riff and some weird, I don't want to call it techno because techno has a very you hear techno, you think techno, you think, the kind of stuff.
Yeah,
It's not that, but it's like this industrial would be a better way to describe it.
yeah,
It's a bass riff with some industrial sound effects and weird chanting, and then the hook, the Halloween, Halloween. Like it is not a song. It's almost like an art piece, and
yeah.
that's fine, but also not what I want to listen to when I'm driving in my car.
Yeah, and that is the big difference with, the Jerry only led Misfits when they come back, is that it is all about the melodies, it's about the hooks. Now, American Psycho pays homage to the style of songwriting that they did all throughout the early days of the band, where you have like, it sounds like it's recorded live. You have everybody like screaming in the background and chanting together, and you have all these great things. Some of the songs are a minute long. That's all you need. And you can like connect. It's like
Yeah,
American Nightmare and Day of the Dead, like they're same style of song, and so it just goes on like that, but in a better polished form. That is what this era of Misfits does, is it takes it and it's like, wait, Doyle can actually play the guitar. Like, he's actually really good.
excellent.
Yeah.
He's incredibly underrated. Now, what he's doing is not. I don't want to undersell what he does. It's not terribly difficult.
No.
Uh, it's bar chords. There's no hard solos. The one solos that the solo that they do, the Misfits solo, is like one note with like, you know,
Yeah, we
going.
are 138. The solo to that, I figured out in an afternoon when I had just been playing guitar for a month. Like, it was
Yeah,
not hard.
yeah, exactly. But it's one of those cases where knowing what to do and when to do it, it's a very, you either know how to do it or you don't. It's an innate skill that not every musician has, and Doyle has it. He knows when to do a neck slide. He knows when to bang on the strings instead of strumming them. So I give him all the credit in the world, and I do think he is a incredibly underrated guitarist, despite the fact that what he's doing technically is not terribly difficult, but he's got that it factor.
Yeah, it has a tone, it has a sound, it has a signature to it. And what we're talking about here is, because the argument's always Glenn Danzig versus Michael Graves on vocals. What I think is immediately clear when Michael Graves comes as the vocalist is that he enunciates. Like, you could understand every word in the lyrics for the most part
Absolutely.
if somebody else isn't screaming behind him and drowning him out, maybe. But like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of layers also in the mixing of the album. So like, it's also a little bit more involved that way. But really, what he does is he is a performer. Whereas I feel like Glenn Danzig had a certain vocal style, and then there was yelling, and he would sometimes work within his range what he had to do, but it was always in service of the song. Just like, this is the song I'm trying to get out. And Michael Graves, he becomes the characters in the songs. He
Mm.
performs them. He'll have like a very arch, sounding. He'll have a narrator voice when he's like telling like the epic story, like in Mars Attacks on this album. It's like this grand, battle through the galaxy. Like all these things. But then he could also be a complete like on American Psycho or whatever. Like, he could just but you understand where he's coming from each song, and it sets the tone so
Yeah.
beautifully. Like, where you just like, I love this, I'm getting a show in each
Yes.
song.
And I've always found, if you watch the old tape of Danzig performing, which is a lot of just him grabbing the microphone, standing in front of people, and the picture on the front of Legacy of Brutality, not just the single skull, but just the guy that looks exactly
Yeah, he's
like
got the
Danzig.
big pompadour
And
double lock thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he's like holding the microphone. That's what Danzig looked like. He would just get up in front of people and scream. As somebody who has seen them with Graves 3 times, uh, Graves was all over the place. He was energy. He was theatrical. He really did. Now, granted, I do think that Graves was much better on in the studio than he was live. He is not a great singer live. If you ever listen to Evil Live 2, he's awful
I
recording.
sold that album because I didn't want to listen to it anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I listened to it once and I was all excited because I think that's the only copy of American Nightmare, the only version of American Nightmare I have anywhere. Because I adamantly will not rebuy records for one track. If it's the exact same recording, if they're just in a different order, I'm not rebuying it. I don't do greatest hits albums. And like you were saying before, the Misfits are almost entirely greatest hits albums. That's what they are. It's collection one, collection two, and then a couple of other albums that repeat those same songs. So I don't have all of those. I owned those three from the original Misfits, collection one, collection two, and Static Age, and I don't own any others. And so I don't have I didn't have a copy of American Nightmare anywhere, and so I had to keep Evil Live 2 for it.
So there's
Yeah,
that image you're talking about, right?
yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, so this is definitely something where this album hits like it has a music video. There's a new song that is not in a classic Misfits style. Like this, it is called Dig Up Her Bones. And this is a Michael Graves song that he brings into the band. We should say he is a songwriter. He again, he comes from another band. He was more into the alternative style of writing. And so he comes in, and this song, Dig Up Her Bones, just has a beautiful music video. He looks so cool. It's intercut with live footage, and then he's like on this really cheap graveyard set. But the way they light him and they shoot him, he's just like so soulful and singing, and he's got like his hair blowing in the wind and all this stuff. Like it's really, really cool. And I remember seeing that online for the first time and being like, these guys are awesome. I
Yeah.
got to go out and see this band live. What are like your favorite 3 tracks on the album? Because we should say it has a lot of songs on it. This is a
Ooh,
17, technically 18 song album.
you
So
gave me
there's a lot.
three. Okay. Geez. Well, Dig Up Her Bones is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorite songs. Period. Hard Stop. Not even just Misfits division. That is one of my favorite songs ever. Um, which that's why my band covered it. Um, I would say that one, Resurrection, and Shining, which is actually about Poltergeist.
Yeah, it's such a strange title for that song.
Weird.
My
I
favorite
don't
thing about
understand why they do that.
Shining is the pronunciation of Carol Ann because they are a band from New Jersey. And like most British bands or whatever, when you sing, it kind of evens out any accent you have. But on that song, it's Carol Ann, the beast
Yeah,
is calling. You
yeah,
hear it like there's so
yeah.
much Jersey in that.
Yep.
My mom's side of the family is from New Jersey. So like
Nice,
I'm there all the time. So I love having that connection
nice.
there.
Yeah. I would say Don't Open Till Doomsday is a very close number four. Um, based almost entirely on the fact that it is such an outstanding closing track. That to use that as your closing track is honestly probably, in my opinion, one of the greatest uh, ends of an album, even though it's technically not the end of the album, uh, of any album ever.
Yeah.
I don't, bonus tracks are, you don't consider those part of the album, um, but yeah, those would be my top three. Would be Dig Up Her Bones, Resurrection, and Shining.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost right there with you. I mean, definitely Dig Up Her Bones, definitely Resurrection. I really like The Hunger. I think The Hunger is a great, like, it's a quick track, but
Yeah.
it's really catchy and it grabs you in there. But yeah, again, undeniable Don't Open Till Doomsday, which is it's just a very, very strong closer, definitely. Now, there is another track that was supposed to be on this album. In fact, it was supposed to be the album title, and that's Dead King's Rise, and it was
Hmm.
included on the vinyl version of the album, which I used to have, and I'm so mad I sold it years ago. But Dead King's Rise eventually does get released, and I think that is like a great track as well. Like it's just got these great like
Yeah.
wailing vocals that leads into it, and but
That
it's
is.
just it's about like some old barbarian king coming back from the dead and slaughtering his enemies. It doesn't really fit, but
Dead King's Rise was on Hits from the Crypt, I think it was called. I
yeah,
think it was
Cuts
called
from the Crypt right
Cuts from the
here.
Crypt.
Yep.
And has the full version of uh Dr. Fives Rides Again. Uh Also has the song from the weird movie they were in, Bruiser.
Yeah.
Uh
Fiend Without a Face and
Without
Bruiser.
a
Yeah.
Face. And 1 million years BC, which is one
Yes.
of my favorite songs by them. That why that didn't get put on an actual album, I don't know.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So with 1997, they released this album, they go on tour and they're all over the place. So okay, so like my friends introduced me to the band, we're seeing them on tour during that American Psycho period, and they're telling me about it. I'm like, oh, I got to check out this band. But they played me the album, and I was like, this is good. It's not my favorite thing, but what a cool gimmick! Like I love the whole horror vibe. I love the presentation. I love what I'm hearing. But then I get on their website and they're like, we're releasing a new album. And I'm like, guys, did you hear they're doing a new album? They're like, yeah, we heard about it, Pope. Don't worry about it. Like, of course we know about it. And they started releasing like minute long preview tracks on the album, from the album. So I start going in there every day, like and listening to these things
Yeah.
just on a loop over and over again. And I'm like, Descending Angel, what's this song? I'm like, Fiend Club. We should say the name of the Misfits fan club from back in the day was the Fiend Club. So that carried on. Their fans are called the Fiends. And so they were like writing an anthem for them. So all this is going on. Like, this album sounds totally different than American Psycho. And
Yeah.
soon in 1999, we get Famous Monsters, okay, which this was now on Roadrunner Records because they had left Geffen. They did
Yep.
not enjoy being on the Geffen label, or lack of promotion, whatever else was going on there. So they get out. I remember my friends actually, like originally made me a burned CD because like one of them got it before the rest of us, and I was like, oh, but I got to get my own version. Let's go get it,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
And so the thing about this album that I love is this version of the band creating their own sound for the first time. It's not
Yeah.
an homage to the past. It's completely like dark, kind of like gothic in some places, heavy metal. It's still got like that. We're going to talk about horror movies and things like that, but it's just like this is what we are and what we can bring to the table. And if you're a hardcore Misfits fan, you may not be satisfied, but if you're just coming into the fold, this might be something for you.
So there's a lot on this album. Well, okay. So I agree 100% with all of that. Especially the fact that they were trying to get their own sound and they were kind of deviating a little bit while still keeping the roots of the sound. There is some corny stuff on here, which
Yes.
I guess you kind of have to expect that.
Die
Uh,
Monster Die. It's
Die
just like a
Monster
throwaway
Die is
track.
incredibly corny. I do think Fiend Club is really corny. The fact
It
that they're
is.
it's almost like yeah.
Well, it's like Kiss has a song on their Psycho Circus album, which came out
Yes.
the year before, called "We Are One," and that's
Yeah.
what it is. It's like singing along, and they also have a song on that album called "You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best," and it's
Oof.
again, it's
Yeah.
like here's a famous phrase from our biggest album, and we're gonna make a song about it. Just like on American
Yes.
Psycho, they write a song called "Walk Among Us." That there was
Yes.
there was an album title, but never a song.
Never a
Okay,
song. And that
It might
always
have
confused
Crimson
me when
Ghost.
I was getting into them. That always confused me. I was like, well, did they have this one left over? Why is this one named after the other thing? And then they don't match up at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I think that the other cool thing that I like about Famous Monsters is that there's Graves really challenges himself a lot on some of the stuff that he's doing vocally on a lot of these songs. Um, Crawling Eye,
Oh,
where that bit at the end where he's just screaming "Crawling Eye,"
yeah.
is so incredible.
And on that topic, real quick, it's a slight diversion. So the band is not going well at this point. They have about a year left of this incarnation. And at one point, they go down to South America in 2000 and they're doing a concert. You could tell this is like them falling apart. And
Yeah,
Graves is on drugs or something because he's just like, he is wailing amazingly. His vocals are so beautiful, but it is so off the mark from what they
yeah,
recorded on the album. And Jerry keeps shutting off his mic. So he'll like point to the side of the stage and tell the people, cut it, cut it, cut it. And then Michael Graves will like stomp around and like, like scream.
yeah,
And then he'll come back. And so on Crawling Eye, like in particular, he just like does his wailing at the end. And it is beautiful. You hear the crowd like erupt for what he's doing. And he looks at Jerry and he's like, points to the crowd. He's like, this is what they want. Like,
yeah.
it's so bad,
It,
but like I've never been able to forget that version.
it always felt to me uh like Graves was a means to an end for Jerry. That Jerry really wanted to get the band back. He didn't like the way things ended with Danzig. He never liked the fact that all of his work that he put into making this band had almost been he felt like he had been taken away from him. And so it was like, okay, well, how do I get that back? What do I do? Okay, here's this kid. He can sing. He can kind of push us into the new age. He'll kind of let us connect with the younger audience. Let's give him a shot, even though this is not really the band that I'm envisioning.
Yeah,
And
and
that's
he
what
kept
you,
control because if you look at the liner notes, I always read liner notes as a kid,
yeah,
but it
absolutely.
says all Misfits songs by Misfits.
Yeah.
And it doesn't
And
say Michael Graves, like usually on an album, you'll have the different people who wrote it in parentheses next to the song title, and nobody gets credit, the whole band. And guess who owns the name of the band and who owns all the rights to all their recordings? Oh, it must be Jerry only. So
yeah,
like he no matter what Michael Graves brought to the band, he was not savvy enough to say, oh, well, I should get credit when I write this. It's just like
yeah,
he says this in interviews now. He's like, Jerry is just like, I got 100 other people who want to be the lead singer of this band. So don't blow it. Don't complain to me. Like I'll
yeah.
replace you in a second.
And it sucks because I mean it's almost like if you look at these two albums, where would these albums be without Graves' songwriting?
Yeah.
And believe me, I'm not being a Graves apologist here because I think if you know a little bit about Michael Graves that is not Misfits related, how can I put this nicely? He's a giant weenus. Like when I say that, he's a giant weenus. Like his some of his non-music related thoughts just
Yeah.
he and I are never going to be on the same page with things. All that aside, if you look at it and you can love separate the art from the artist, uh these two albums would not be anywhere near uh what they are without his songwriting. He wrote Hard Stop. He wrote some of the best songs on these albums.
Yeah.
And Jerry had nothing to do with them. Doyle had nothing to do with them. They were all just Michael Graves songs. Dig Up Her Bones is probably, in my opinion, they're the best song from this era. And that is 100% Michael Graves. Like Jerry had nothing to do with that. He brought that from his other band and was like, "Hey, let's make this a Misfits song." And he's kind of taken it back since then. But Saturday Night, all Michael Graves.
Yeah.
Uh, I think most of Famous Monsters.
Yeah, you can generally tell in the lyrical content in the style of songwriting, like what's Jerry and what is a Graves
Yeah,
track. And the thing is, like, Saturday Night is another one of those where you're just like, it's a ballad. It sounds like an old 50s song, and yet
Yeah,
it sounds a little bit evil. Like
yeah,
that's where the collaboration comes in. It's like, okay, well, we can put the Misfits sheen on this. And we should say that album in particular, they got the same producer they had for American Psycho, but from what I read, it wasn't working, it wasn't sounding good. And they
yeah.
bring in this guy, Ed Stasium, who just puts this, every track feels connected. There is a feedback sound,
Mhm.
feedback at the end of most songs that then like will like carry through to the next. Like it is an album I can listen to on a loop. I mean, this is no hyperbole. This is my favorite album of all time. Like I
Yeah,
will listen to this always and
yeah.
forever and never get tired of it. And it makes me want to sing along. And I think that is the real magic of it. Is if
Mhm.
you look online, there is a lot of covers of songs from this album
Yeah.
because people like feel so connected to what is being put out there. And it is a beautiful thing, like to realize that. Like again, you've recorded a whole covers album. My
I was
band
gonna
used
say,
to play it.
of those, no, Adam, of those covers that you've seen, who did the best ones? No.
Oh, I heard this band, Bronwyn's Ghost. I don't
Oh yeah, they're great. I've heard of them.
yeah,
No,
so but like yeah, it's just it's beautiful. And for me, the back half of the album is where like most of the magic is because I love it all. But like everything from really I would say Descending Angel to the end. So Descending Angel, them, Fiend Club, Hunting Humans, and Helena. Helena is like their magnum opus. Like that is like just this song where you're just like, what is happening here? And again,
yeah,
it has
that's
lyrics that you would expect. If I cut off your arms and I cut off your legs, would you
that
still
was it.
love me anyway?
It was a movie.
Yeah,
They was
Foxing Helena. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So such a weird album. But like I mean, good weird. I love them. Them is such a great track. Again, about giant ants. You know.
and it's got like a screeching ant chitter in the background the whole time. Like
Yeah.
it's
Scarecrow Man. My Xbox handle to this day.
ha,
Because I needed and I used it on AOL Instant Messenger. I used it on ICQ for if you're old, if anyone listening is old enough to remember ICQ. That was my handle on those platforms was Scarecrow Man. Because that's what I was into at the time, and I loved that song so much. Just and that song especially because that one's got such a different feel from everything else. Um, you know, you do the Wizard of Oz quote. How about a little fire, Scarecrow? And it cuts in with the yeah, such a incredible like they're doing like a it's almost like a blues riff,
yeah.
uh, and it's such a departure from the other stuff that they had been doing on that album. It's seriously Famous Monsters is
Yeah,
severely
and you're a
underrated album.
singer. I use Scream, the opening to Scream, as
Mhm.
a warm up when I'm doing
Nice,
vocals and I'm singing,
nice.
you know? So we got to talk about this though. This is something that I have noticed because during this period, Jerry Only is doing everything he can to get the Misfits into the public eye in the spotlight. But one
Yeah,
thing that he never accomplishes and yet pushes so hard for is he wants a song on a Tim Burton movie soundtrack.
sure.
It is so sad that he doesn't realize Tim would not be into this music, but
No.
it is crazy. So on American Psycho, he has Mars Attacks. Even before Mars Attacks is on the main album, they
Yeah.
release like a demo single. I'm sure he sent into the studio because Mars Attacks is coming out in theaters. He's like, you could put this on your soundtrack. It would be perfect. It'd be
We'll
ready
give
to
it to you
go.
for free.
Yeah, exactly. And then, then you get into Famous Monsters. So, what was Tim Burton doing just a few years after this? He's doing Planet of the Apes. Now, I don't know if that was announced already, but I assume Jerry was in the know. So, he's
Yeah.
got Forbidden Zone. That could have been on that soundtrack. Then,
Yeah.
oh, wait, they're doing more Scream sequels? Oh, okay. Then, how about a song called Scream? It's like and now again, that one was not,
Not
that one
Tim Burton,
Tim
but
Burton,
still.
but yeah, so but it just felt like he was always chasing that. And then much later though, when Tim Burton is directing a film adaptation of Dark Shadows, he records a song called Dark Shadows, which I'm sure also got sent into that studio making the film. So
Admittedly, I don't know a whole lot about uh, Jerry only era Misfits. I listened to
Project 1950,
no Project 1950 is great. That's covers. I will never say a harsh word about Project
Devil's
1950.
Reign.
Devil's Reign, that's the one. Did not care for it.
Devil's
And
Reign has 5 good songs, and unfortunately, yeah, Jerry
yeah,
is singing. So we should talk about that disillusion of the band
yeah.
as well. So
Before we move on
yeah,
to that, I do want to talk about my favorite bit of trivia. Well, I don't know if you call it trivia.
yeah,
Uh, During this period, you were saying Jerry was trying to do anything to get the band famous and have them become famous monsters, is when the entire band showed up as wrestlers for World Championship Wrestling.
yes. Now I will
Uh,
say during the Monday Night Wars, I was definitely watching WCW Nitro and
yeah.
all that. I was not watching Raw. So
So during this time period, I had friends who got me deeply and embarrassingly into the Insane Clown Posse. And so I was completely in the bag for Vampiro already because he was friends with them. They were the Dark Carnival in WCW. Well, of course, WCW, they had a falling out with ICP, as one generally does. And they needed to replace Vampiro's entire gimmick at this point. He had been doing this thing where he was, he'd wrestle in the clown makeup and he wore the Amazing Juckle Brothers t-shirt. They needed to do something to replace that, and they went to him and asked him what he wanted to do. Now, during this time period, Eric Bischoff, the president of WCW, or World Championship Wrestling, had been trying desperately to make a connection between music and wrestling. He had Megadeth do Goldberg's theme, "Crush 'Em," well, as part of their Risk album. They had a
Kiss
whole
got a wrestler. Kiss got the
Kiss
demon in Gene
Dale
Stein's
Torberg, former professional baseball player Dale Torberg, was the Kiss demon who dressed like Gene Simmons
and
and they
lost every match ever.
I think he won one.
Maybe
I
one.
think he won one. And then sidebar to that, I remember they did have a special part of their deal that they had written in that he had to be in a main event uh, on a certain number of main events, and they ended up putting him in a match like at the 9 o'clock hour, was like halfway through the show, and I can't remember who he was fighting. But it was I think it might have been the Wall. And they build it as a special main event just to be able to. Anyway, so Eric Bischoff is just trying desperately to make this connection between wrestling. He's got the No Limit Soldiers teaming with Rey Mysterio, Master P and his record label guys were teaming. He's trying desperately to make this connection, and all of a sudden on a Monday night, unbeknownst to anyone, here comes Vampiro with the Misfits. They do a run in to save him in a match against, oh Lord, who was he fighting at the time? I think it was Dr. Death Steve Williams was who he was feuding with, but they do a run in. And me, having just seen them in Washington, D.C., opening for Guar not 3 or 4 months ago, I see them come out and I'm like, that's Michael Graves. That's doing. And then, of course, here's Tony Schiavone screaming, "Hey, that's the Misfits!" And I'm like, okay, Tony Schiavone has no idea who the
No.
Misfits are. He's just reading a cue card. But it's so bizarre at this point to see these guys that I've now just recently fallen in love with are on my TV doing my favorite thing. They do a very short angle where they're fighting Dr. Death Steve Williams and the guy named Ed Ferreira was playing his manager, who was a knockoff of JR named Oklahoma.
Yeah,
And all he would do is would be push barbecue sauce.
right.
That's what JR was doing at the time. And I remember the match having a steel cage match where Jerry Only and Doyle fought in the steel cage against Dr. Dead Steve Williams. And I remember Jerry being covered in barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
Just awful. And they were not good.
I mean, my favorite was they did a backstage promo once where there was this girl called Daphne, and she was kind of like this goth, kind of crazy girl. And at one point, she's hitting on Jerry Only, and she's like doing all this, and all of a sudden she just bites his nose and blood squirts out of her. It's like the
Yeah.
penguin in Batman Returns. And
Yeah.
you're like, what? And then
Yeah.
she runs off cackling, it's just like weird stuff. They could never figure out what to do. And then they have a falling out with Vampiro because he basically is kind of working with WCW. They want to like get the Misfits logo and own it like somehow through this. And there is a whole like write-up on the Misfits website at this time. Jerry Only writes this whole diatribe about this man we considered a friend. We invited him to our home. And all this stuff, and he betrayed us and all this. So it's like all these things going on behind the scenes. Plus, Doyle, his brother, starts getting romantically involved with Macho Man Randy Savage's girlfriend, Gorgeous George. They go off together. They end up married. They start a band called Gorgeous Frankenstein. I mean,
terrible band.
Yeah.
It's
just her go-go dancing while they play.
If you've never listened to Gorgeous Frankenstein, do yourself the biggest favor you've ever done and don't. They are not good.
But I mean, that was crazy. And then, like you said, they also get into a movie with George Romero, who did Night of the Living Dead and Day of the Dead and all these movies. And the trade-off there was that he's like, well, how about you write some original songs for the soundtrack of this movie, Bruiser, and then you guys could be in the movie. And they have a full, like, there's this big party scene and they're on stage playing, and there's an extra guitarist there who's really a stuntman who gets in a fight with somebody in the crowd, and then he's out of there. But it's just like to see them captured from that period on film is just beautiful. And Descending Angel plays at the beginning of that scene, and a bunch of stuff. Like I have it on DVD. Of course, I bought it at the time. I'm like so excited. Misfits are in a movie. But yeah, so like just so many things like that where they were pushing themselves. They were in the ICP movie. They had a brief cameo in Big Money Hustlers. So they did everything they could. But during this period, again, Michael Graves is like, I don't feel like I'm part of the band. Like, and Jerry is like this control freak to the point where Dr. Chud doesn't want to be in the band. Doyle doesn't really want to be in the band under Jerry anymore. So
he doesn't have a choice because he's his brother.
Right. He's his brother. So, but basically Graves quits the band. Now, he had done this before during like the American Psycho tour. They're supposed to go down to South America. He's like, but I want to go to hockey camp. I'm gonna go to trade with professional hockey players. And they're like, no, we have a tour, kid. Like, you got to come. We have booked dates. He's like, well, I'm not going to. And so they get this guy, Mike Hideous, who is very involved behind the scenes with the Misfits, and he had his own band and stuff. And he's like, I want to be in the band. Can I be in the band now? And they're like, yeah, okay. You're coming down to South America with us. And he does those shows. He thought he was the new singer, but then Michael Graves is like, hey, I want back in the band. I was just going to hockey camp. So they bring him back. And then because Doyle and Chud wanted Michael Graves in the band, it's like all those guys and then Jerry over here, like pulling the strings, but they're like the band, like creating the stuff. And then Michael Graves again at this point is saying like, I can't handle being in this band anymore. Like, you treat me like an employee. Everything I contribute doesn't get recognized. And so he quits. And then Dr. Chud quits with him. And they're just out. And so during this period, I was seeing the Misfits as often as I could live. So I probably saw them about 6 times live. And so I saw that Guar show that you were talking about with Guar and the Misfits. That was the first one. In fact, my ticket is just so faded you can't even read anything on it. But that was actually, that's probably because it got some sort of fluid from the stage on it in my pocket. The grimiest show.
I watched Guar from the balcony.
That was smart. I was front row, so I got it all. But then so we went and saw them, and then I will say too, real quick, this is my Jerry Only signed ticket.
Nice.
And at the end of the show after this, he ran off. He's like, guys, I can't stay. I got to go meet James Hetfield in San Francisco. I'm hopping on a plane. We're going to go play with them on stage, which he and Doyle did at one point, like just very briefly. So there was that happening. But then as soon as I heard that Michael Graves had left the band, of course I'm heartbroken. But my friends and I are so hardcore into the band. We're like, they're playing in Vegas next week. Let's go. They have their new singer. It's the lead singer of the opening band we saw last month when they passed through town, Zoli.
Zoli from Ignite. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have his side ticket here.
they do wail. Like Ignite's a really good hardcore band,
He's a great singer. Yeah, I mean
but
they're a solid act, and so like,
plays fun
oh,
for
this
them.
guy's gonna be good. Okay, and so he comes out. He, again, he's filling in. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah,
They have tour dates they have to fulfill. He puts on a Misfits tank top. He doesn't really wear the makeup or anything. He doesn't have a persona. He just kind of sings the songs. You're like, okay, well, thanks, those old lady. He's like, we're like, you were good, man. He's like, oh, dude, tell Jerry because I'd love to have this gig.
yeah,
Just let him
yeah,
know. And
yeah,
so I thought that was funny. But anyway, so what I want to talk about real quick is the Misfits live stage persona, because like you hinted at earlier, the energy that just immediately comes out when
yeah.
they start up their show. They start playing like at their American Psycho tour. I think it was like some creepy church music or something they called it. But then during the Famous Monsters tour, it's just like Kong at the Gates is when the
Yeah.
like they just start the drum line from Dr. Chud, who crawls out from a sewer grate underneath his drum riser.
It's so cool.
It's, I mean, they have obviously like the fog, the smoke on the stage. They have giant banners with the Crimson Ghost behind them. They have
Yeah.
giant amps with the Crimson Ghost spray painted on them. So I mean, it's like pink and green and purple lighting and blue and like just like so many colors. So what was your first experience like seeing them with Guar, or was there one before that?
No, no, I was seeing them with Guar. I saw them with Guar twice. And they were the band I was there for, and I
Yeah.
was always indignant that Guar closed until I saw Guar, and then I understood that like you can't really follow Guar. It's a singular experience.
Yeah.
Uh, and I've seen Guar, I think, more than any other band I've ever seen, which is just, I mean, I live in the DC area and they live in, they're from Richmond. So
Okay.
they're in I saw Guar on Halloween in 2001, 2000, 2000. We went on Halloween to 930 Club in DC and saw Guar on Halloween, which was amazing.
That's wild.
But yeah, I saw them. I saw the Misfits three times. Once, twice with Guar, and once when they were doing that run with Ignite. And I remember the first time I went. Uh, I think it might have been one of my first non-arena concerts. My first concert was Kiss. I think my next concert I might have been seeing Metallica at a pavilion show, and then I think I saw the Misfits and Guar as at a club show, and this was my first time going to 930 Club, and when I saw Kiss, I had painted my face like Paul Stanley, not, not because he was my favorite, but because like I didn't have the time. It's
It's
like
the
what do I do?
easiest one to do.
He's the
Yeah.
easiest one to do. Um, so I'm going to see the Misfits, and I had taken leftover black eyeliner from something, and I had put the dark circles under my eyes. I did not have enough hair to do a devil lock. And I definitely don't have enough hair to do a devil lock now. But I had the dark makeup under my eyes, and I remember walking into line and feeling so out of place. My mom pulled up and dropped me off. I wasn't old enough to drive. My mom dropped me off, and I got out of the car and got in line with all the other, the other fiends, and just the looks they were giving me was like, "Why are you trying so hard?" I mean, I was in 10th grade. Like, that's if you're
Yeah,
not
you're
trying too
excited.
hard in
You
10th
want to
grade,
put
you're
on
not
the
trying
war
enough.
paint.
Yeah, exactly. I remember being not really knowing what to do with myself and going towards the front in the middle of this mosh pit,
Uh-oh.
not really knowing what the mosh pit was. And I think almost every time I think about the Misfits, I think about where this guy is. Uh, this guy was also in the pit, and I think he could tell that I was new, and he took his hands and he crossed his hands like this and grabbed my hands and swung me around like making me a part of things. Uh, and I will never forget that. If you're listening right now, weird guy from Washington D.C. area, thank you. Because that was to me that was the coolest thing that a person could have done at that time. He could have easily shoved me down or done a hardcore mosh punch kind of thing. Uh, but he didn't. Like he
Yeah,
invited
that was
me.
my experience too. Is the Misfits mosh pits were respectful. Everybody like
Yeah,
we're in this together. Let's just get in the circle. Let's just go.
yeah,
Let's have some fun. Like my first mosh pit was Fear Factory at Ozfest in like
yeah.
'98 or something. But it's one of those things where yeah, like you feel like you're part of the group here, and everybody's just having a good time. We're not punching each other in the face. We're not
No,
knocking each other down on purpose, at least.
yeah. And if you fell down, somebody's picking you up.
Yeah,
So I had that experience with the guy in the pit. As far as the stage show went, this was a step down from Kiss because obviously you're not going to be a step up from Kiss, and if you're in a smaller venue like that, you're not going to be on par with
yeah.
Kiss.
There's no
Uh,
pyro. There is a torch though.
there's a
Usually.
torch. There's a candelabra.
Yeah, Crimson
Um,
Ghost comes out at the beginning and
yeah,
got the full red cloak and the mask and everything and kind of like looks around at the audience like real creepy face. It's
yeah,
awesome.
and you're losing your mind because it's like this is theater. I'm watching theater. And then like you said, Dr. Chud comes out from under the drum kit and runs around and gets ready to start playing, and then they all start coming out. I can't remember if they wheeled Graves out on the dolly
Yeah,
like
like
he
Hannibal
the
Lecter.
Lecter. Yeah, I can't remember if they did that this on that tour or not. Um, but just the presence that they have is just it's so big. Even though you're in a smaller venue, it's so big, while at the same time also drawing you in and making you feel like you're a part of it.
Yeah.
Which, I hate to draw comparisons to modern acts, but to me, I felt in that moment when they came out and got ready to play American Psycho, because I'm sure that's what they opened with. Uh, I felt the same way that I think a lot of little girls feel about Taylor Swift right now. Where that's like,
My heroes.
yeah, my heroes, and they're outcasts just like I feel like an outcast, and they're singing songs that matter to me because I was a dork who liked horror movies.
Yeah, like
So
I always feel like the lyrics to Dust on Famous Monsters speaks to a disaffected youth. He was like, "Hate you, Father, for you have sinned. Why did you, Lord, let this life begin?" Like this
yeah,
depressed teenager is feeling that.
yeah, yeah. And I kind of like that they don't. None of their songs are about real life, but they are about real life. And that's it's abstract. It's
Yeah, it
abstract.
is.
I
And
do
we
like
should
that.
say like the literal physical presence of the band is big. We haven't talked about this, but Jerry and Doyle are weightlifters.
Yeah.
Doyle is the most cut human being you have ever seen. He's got muscles you didn't know existed. He is chiseled out of stone.
Yes. It
You've
was.
never seen anything like him. He is
It
a
was.
specimen.
It was to the point that when I saw them in WCW, I was like, "Whoa, this is going to be awesome!" And then they wrestled, and I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, like they're
Just
football
completely
players, not
disappointed.
wrestlers. Yeah.
Yeah, they're well. I don't even know if they had the coordination to be football players. They're bodybuilders,
Yeah.
uh, definitely, but they're just not. They're not fleet of foot.
What's
Uh,
interesting is I've always wanted to do a video for YouTube, which is just how to imitate the Misfits because they all have specific stage movement. Okay. So
hmm,
Jerry
yeah,
just looks like he's made of rubber. He's jumping around and his bass is like flying out in his hand and he's
yeah,
catching it. And like it feels like he just feels weightless on stage, even though he's like this big, bulky dude, but he is just bounding everywhere and just back and forth. And again, his bass is always moving. Like, he's just like flying around all over the place. And then you have Michael Graves would look like a palsy victim. He would like hold his mic up and then, or he would like be stomping around the stage.
that's
Like,
the stomp is what I
yeah,
remember the most. Is because he would do like a stomp to the left and then a stomp to the right and then a stomp to the left, like one foot, like really in quick
yeah. And we should say,
Exactly.
like, Michael Graves would always paint a skull on his face. So he
Yeah.
had a skeleton makeup face. And then Doyle is Frankenstein. So
Yeah.
he's got, like, he's
The
got
glove.
these different Misfits kind of armbands and things. His face is all white and he's got different shading on it to make him look kind of, like he's got hollowed out cheeks sort of thing. But the biggest thing is how he plays the guitar, which is he's literally just smashing his guitar.
Yeah.
He's punching it. Like, you're just like, how is he making any music? How is anything coming out of this?
And I've tried it so many times and I don't know. Like I don't know. I've I have tried so many times to replicate his mannerisms,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I'm pulling my punches because I'm afraid I'm going to hurt myself with the guitar, or I'm going to punch it, hit, break a string. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I
No,
cannot make it
it's an
sound.
impossible feat that only he can accomplish. And I mean, he's just stomping around the stage while he's punching his guitar, sometimes punching people who get on stage. There are videos
Yeah,
of that when people are
yeah,
being really annoying. Dr. Chad is just in the back, smashing the skids, but he's great. And so, like, that, but they just play nonstop for an hour. There's really no stage banter
yeah.
unless there's a technical issue. It's just one song to the next, nonstop energy, running around, jumping around. Like, I remember Michael Graves, he would do a lot of stage diving. So we'd be like passing him around the pit and just having some fun. One time I thought I was being clever. I had Tic Tacs. I'm like, hey, Mikey, you want some Tic Tacs? I'm surprised he'd just knock it out of my hand. But stuff like that. But what I remember most is during the WCW era, they started incorporating wrestling into their shows. So they had a costumed Crimson Ghost, but they also had a costumed Frankenstein because they have a lot of songs about Frankenstein. And
Sure.
so there was a time when Frankenstein would come out onto the stage and he'd be like swiping at him, he'd be trying to fight Michael Graves. And Michael Graves would come up with a metal chair and he hit him with a folding chair on the back. And then Frankenstein would grab him and choke slam him on the
Oh,
stage. And it
nice.
was just so much fun, like having a battle with Frankenstein in the middle of your set,
That's
stuff like
awesome.
that. It's
Yeah.
just awesome.
Yeah, they were definitely one of the best live experiences, for all those reasons. And again, like you were saying, the energy that they play with, even if you take out all the theatrics, because I think the last time I saw them, uh, was one of the times where they were just playing. They didn't have all of the the same theatrics. They came out, they played their set, and they left. And the energy, I will always remember that energy that they played with, because even though they didn't incorporate the same, stage show, the theater aspect of it, they were still a memorable show.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It also helped that, look, again, they're not a huge headlining act. So they're playing in little theaters. I mean, like the biggest thing they're going to get is a theater, I should say. Like, so they're playing in clubs or theaters. So you are right up there with them. Now, my friends and I, we're all 6 foot, 200 pounds at the time. Like, we're big guys. So we could like go up to the front and not
Yeah,
be destroyed by the mosh pit. And a lot of times I would watch from the balcony because I just wanted to see the show. I wanted
yeah,
to hear it. I wanted to take it in. But my favorite moment was my friend Galen, who's the guy who really introduced me to the band. We had gone to Ozfest, like I said. He had a shirt that just in a plain black shirt in 3 words, it just said IF, the full word, sheep. And that was something that he bought at Ozfest. So we're in the front row of the show, and Michael Graves stops everything. And I was, stop for a second, guys. This guy has a shirt that says IF sheep. And then he looks at Chud. He's like, Chud, you do that, right? So my friend goes like, you want it? You want it? And so Graves takes off his tank top and they trade shirts.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And so then he takes it and he's like, throws it to Chud. He's like, that's for you. And then
Yeah.
they start the song again, which is so funny. So cut to in Las Vegas. Their opening act was called the Impotent Sea Snakes, and they
Yeah.
had a kiss sign without the K. It was just ISS, and they're just a real kinky band. That was all they did on stage was weird stuff. Not good music, but a theatrical band. And so we saw the show and we're driving back, because we were from California. So we're driving back that night. It's like 1 a.m. The show obviously like had let out. They got to get to their next gig. we're driving. I passed out in the back seat, and I heard my friends go, "Whoa, what is that?" And I look out the window. There is an RV on fire on the side of the Nevada
Wow.
desert highway, and they're like, my friend pulls over like just in front of it. He's like, "Wait, we got to see if they're okay." And I'm like, "Wait,
Yeah.
huh? What?" But I was still like kind of dazed. I just kind of passed out again. And then they come back, they're like, Pope, give us your hoodie, give us your water. We gotta help this guy. And I'm like, "What?" And like, and then so I look back, they come back in, a couple minutes later, and I'm finally awake. So I'm just like, what was happening back there? And they're like, "That's the impotent sea snakes. That's the opening band." And they had like merch in their hands and stuff. They're like, "Galen ran in,
Yeah.
he put your hoodie over his head, he went into the burning RV and pulled out one of the guys in their band who was passed out drunk in the back."
Wow.
And so they got the cell phone number of the band. They're like, "Any show you come to, just come see us backstage. Just call us, let us know you're here." So I
Yeah.
didn't get to go to the next show, but like they went backstage, met the Misfits, met everybody. He brought
Oh, nice.
that Graves tank top and had Michael Graves sign it. Then he framed
Nice.
it and put it up on his wall, So
Nice.
it's just like
That's
so many
awesome.
crazy things, but they were so good to the fans. Jerry was always there after a show signing. Nobody else was, but Jerry was there.
It's so funny to me to think about that because when I think about what has led the band to not be as big as they could possibly be, it's Jerry. It's always Jerry. That Jerry is kind of his own worst enemy.
Yeah.
That the other guys are the musical talent, and they're the ones that can operate in a framework of a band and actually be functional. Whereas Jerry is anal retentive and can't let go of any credit, which honestly, if you had wrestled with Danzig as much as he did
Right.
to get the stuff back, I kind of get it, but still. But then you look at the other things, and it's like the one person that I remember being super nice to everyone who came was Jerry, and the other guys just pieced out and went backstage.
Yeah.
So it's so weird to think that a guy who could be almost the sole reason that the band never got bigger than they did is also the sole reason that the fans love the band as much as they do. It's such a weird dichotomy.
Yeah, it is strange, unfortunately, that he just can't seem to make it work and collaborate and make that happen. However, we should say that the band, the original Misfits, has been on tour and making appearances at festivals. I've seen them twice live with my group of friends because they are more into, I mean, they love Graves Misfits, but they also love the original band too. So they're like, "We're
Yeah.
gonna go see a Pope, you gotta come." So I've been to see it. It's an okay show. Danzig does not have a voice anymore, but you got
Yeah.
Jerry and Doyle on either side jumping around doing their thing. But
And
it's so small. It feels, the energy, like we've talked about with the Graves era Misfits, is not there. It's not the same.
yeah. Well, I mean, how could it be?
Yeah.
I mean, we're more than 20 years later. I'm at the point where I'm leave the memories alone with them. I don't think I have any desire to see them live, primarily because Graves era is what I so so much associate with my favorite times of the band.
Yeah.
I would never say an unkind word about the Danzig era.
No.
But if I had gun to my head, if you asked me to pick one and the other one disappeared forever, I'm picking Graves era. I just think that musically, show wise, songwriting wise, lyric wise, everything was so much better. I think they were better musicians during the time. I think Graves is a better singer technically than Danzig. Uh, I like those songs better. I like the songs. I like the execution better. I like the band better. So the appeal of seeing Danzig as the lead singer, to me, would I go? Absolutely, I would go. Is it something I'm going to spend hundreds upon hundreds of dollars to do? Which is what I would have had to have done because I think the only time they were ever anywhere near me and it was affordable, and I say near me, it wasn't near me, it was in Chicago. It was when they were doing Riot Fest. All their other shows I think have been out west. I don't think they've done anything in the
I think
DC.
they did one MSG show or a couple nights or something, but
Still, getting to New York ain't easy.
yeah.
So I mean, it's just it plus the fact that it's not the Misfits. It's Danzig, it's Doyle, it's Jerry, And yeah, that's technically three-fourths, but it's also not the same drummer. And so to me, it's not, that might not matter to somebody, but if the appeal is, oh, it's the original Misfits, it's not. It's three-fourths of the original Misfits. And that to me is enough of a detractor to make me go, you know what? Good for them. Glad they're doing it. Glad people are enjoying it. I'm gonna pass.
Yeah. And we should say, like before that original Misfits, Jerry had been carrying on the band since 2001 as the vocalist. He just took over. He said, I'm not going to deal with any diva singer anymore. I'm just going to run the show and it'll be all me. And he
It
just
was
brings
a
in different
weird,
people.
the rest of the band was weird. It was like him and
Des Cadena from
Des
Black
Cadena and like
Flag.
Marky Ramone, I think.
Yep.
Like it's such a weird Jerry and the punk rock all stars kind of conglomeration. And I think I alluded to this before or outright said it. I don't care for the songwriting during that era. Jerry is not the songwriter that Michael Graves is. He's
No.
just not. He's not. Uh,
Every once in a while he hits on something and he'll get a cool song out of it, which is what I'm saying. Like on Devil's Rain, like I like there's fun stuff like Monkey's Paw, and the song Dark Shadows I brought up is really good. Father, like there's a couple things in the title track Devil's Rain's pretty good too, but yeah,
yeah.
but it's just like it's hit or miss with his output, even though he's done a fair amount of like EPs and other things.
And I don't think he's not the vocalist that Graves is.
No,
He's
not even close.
he's it's just it's not even exactly, it's not even close. And so to me it's too sad. It's too
Yeah.
sad because of how much I loved what they were. Uh to listen to Jerry come out and be Jerry, Lord bless him. It's his band, and it is never, no, I would never want anyone telling me when it was time to stop doing something I loved. And if he
Yeah.
can find the backers and he can find the people to pay for him to go in and cut a record, all the power in the world to him. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean I have to listen to it.
It was a glorious 5-6 year run, however you want to look
Yeah,
at it. With what they gave us, we could always go back to it. We can always enjoy it. And it's just, there's the what if, but at the very least, Michael Graves has continued to put out a lot of music.
yeah.
Again, very hit or miss, but there's some good stuff in there. I really liked his When Worlds Collide album from a
Hmm.
few years back. That was really good.
Yep.
But yeah, his vocals kind of change like from album to album, and it's like he's good here, he's not so good here. The mix is
Yeah.
good here, the production is bad
And
here.
that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. He's very inconsistent. Where I think if he's got on Lost Skeleton Returns, I believe, is the
Yeah,
one where he took back a lot of the songs he had written from the Misfits
yeah, re-records a
and
lot of them.
re-recorded them. And that one has I believe Dig Up Her Bones on it, where he adds a lot of really cool guitar parts to it, but the production is trash.
Yeah,
Like not great.
I mean, also his first solo album after he left the band called Punk Rock Is Dead. I've got that
Yeah.
here. It's pretty bad, but
Yeah. Oh,
but it's just
awful.
like you
Yeah.
see what he wanted to do. But it's anyway, it's just they've all continued on. Even Doyle released like 2 albums, I think, outside of just Gorgeous Frankenstein. Maybe that includes it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot still in the universe that you can enjoy. But I should say, like of all the bands I love, I've only had literal dreams about being asked to be the vocalist of the Misfits and singing Graves era Misfits songs. Like that has
Nice.
been dreams that I have lived and been like, oh, this is amazing that even in a fantasy world, it happened once.
Oh, maybe one day it will happen for real.
You never know. Like the movie Rockstar. I love that movie with Mark Wahlberg, even though,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, but yeah, so it's one of those things where you took it to the next level. You at least recorded. I performed a lot of Misfits songs live, but you recorded a
Yeah,
great cover album. It's very fun, and you mix in these great like audio drops from different movies and TV
yeah.
shows and stuff. I mean, it's wonderful. So tell people, where can they find that?
So my band's name is Bronwyn's Ghost. We are on SoundCloud because it's free. Uh we're not making any money off of this. We can't justify putting it on Spotify. Plus, there's a lot of rules about covers on Spotify where they are just really, you have to get all kinds of permission to put up covers on Spotify, and SoundCloud gives not one care what you put up. Um, so yeah, my very first band, uh, I had gotten this idea because this was, I was still very heavily in being influenced by the Misfits and what they were doing musically. My first band, very pop punk, came out during the time when Good Charlotte and Newfound Glory were big, and that's kind of
Sure.
what we sounded like. But I had wanted to do a Halloween show and play as the Misfits. Paint our faces, learn the songs because they're not hard to learn. Just do a quick set of maybe 5 to 7 songs as the Misfits for Halloween. And the rest of my band, because the extent of their punk knowledge was Good Charlotte and Newfound Glory, and I use the term punk very loosely. Um, they were never into it. So fast forward to modern times, and I'm playing with my buddy Ryan, who is just an incredible musician, just top to bottom. He's everything he sets his mind to do musically, he does. He's an excellent producer. He's an excellent engineer, and he plays the heck out of guitar and drums, and he can sing. So I mean, the fact that we have been able to create what we've done has is a testament to just how musically talented he is. I give him all the credit in the world. I just show up and sing songs that I've been singing in my car for the last 20, 30 years. But yeah, no, we enjoy linking quotes and things from movies into songs and seeing how we can kind of make them flow together. And I kind of had this idea that we would do 2 volumes. I I don't know if there's going to be a volume 3 or not.
I hope
Um,
so.
I okay, I'll have to we'll have to kick it around and see what songs we haven't done yet. And which ones I can do justice to. But I picked my favorites. I picked the ones that I really wanted to do, and we did volume 1 for Christmas, and the next year we did volume 2 for Halloween. Volume 1 is I believe it's just a very fits Christmas, and then volume 2 was Hello Wayne, because I always thought it was really funny that Danzig, actually it's Danzig, but it's also more the Davey Havoc AFI cover of Halloween. He does not say Halloween, he says Halloween. So I have always thought, oh, this is a song about a guy with no insides named Hollow Wayne.
Sounds like a garbage pail kid.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does sound like a Garbage Pail Kid. So we did our two EPs and combined them together into a single playlist, a single album. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how they turned out. I if you're listening, give them a listen. Hopefully you're pleased with how they turned out as well. So
Yeah, I enjoy them, so I would recommend them. We'll put a link here with the show notes and everything as well, so you guys can find it. But again, if I had my druthers, we'd be talking for another 2 hours, breaking down every song on those 2 albums and Cuts from the Crypt, and just diving in deeper. Maybe someday that dream could be realized. But
if
thank you,
there's
Donnie, for being here.
Halloween next year. I'll mark it on my calendar. We'll revisit or
We'll do the
something.
deep dive.
Yeah, we'll do a deep dive. Yeah, but no, this has been great. This has been a lot of fun. I'm happy that I'm not the only person who feels I feel like we have similar viewpoints on the,
Yes.
so that's nice.
And hoping the rest of you out there who are Graves Era Misfits fans comment, let us know that you feel the same way we do, and we'd love to hear your thoughts and your opinions. So share them where you can. In the meantime, you can find me on there. I'm at Hoju Coolander on all the socials. I will respond to you. If you are respectful, I'll be respectful. And if you love Danzig more than Graves, that is okay too. He is a fantastic performer and songwriter for his era. And I'm pretty sure on Instagram, you can just subscribe to Danzig memes and you will get stuff on a daily basis of people talking Danzig. So you can get your fill for sure. But until next time, until next Halloween, we'll check you later and keep geeking out.
This has been a presentation of Geekster Media.